Okay. Hi, this is Dr. Cubbin. Welcome back. Second week of online at-home school learning, and things seem to be going pretty well. We're getting grades for you. You're able to watch some videos. You're reading some materials. You're taking assessments. We're taking attendance. Speaking of attendance, we have to make sure that you are here in school. So in order to do that, I'm going to either have you do one of the surveys on one of the Jupyter forums, or I'm going to have you give you a quiz or something. I'm not going to do the check-ins anymore. I didn't like them. But I do like the forums and the questionnaires because I am getting some good information back from you. So if you do not do the quiz and you do not do the forum and you're not checked in and you're not present for school, you get marked absent. If you don't take the quiz, and I'm using the quiz for attendance, say for the core science mostly, you can't come back 2 days later and say, oh, I want to take the quiz now because now I'm ready. I pumped myself up and I'm all set. And now I'm going to be doing it. I'm not going to let you take the quiz because you're home. You have the computers there. It's a 5-second quiz, okay, 10-minute quiz. You're being given very simple videos, some simple reading assessments, and you're going to be basing your quizzes on those. So you have to get those done on the day they're due. They're very simple, and you have to do those, or else you're going to get marked absent. Submitting work. When you do a quiz, you have to submit it. If you don't submit it, I assume you're not finished and you're not done with it. So I don't have the work. And I can't really show you, but on my screen, I see these 3 little green dots next to your assignment, and it means that you haven't submitted it yet. For some of you, I had looked at it for the first couple of quizzes. I had looked at it, and I had seen that you were working on it, you had work there, but you hadn't submitted it. So I gave you the 5 out of 5. I gave you a couple of days to fill that in, to just press submit. That's all you had to do. You didn't do that. I sent out messages. I sent out text messages. I sent out messages on Jupyter. You didn't do it, so I took a point off. And so from now on, when you take a quiz, press submit. When you do your labs for your hypothesis or your conclusion, press submit, or the same thing's going to happen. Getting back to the lab cell, here's how we're going to work this. This week we did the coin battery, where we had the penny and the paper towel and the nickel, and we used that as a cell, and then we added them together and we counted them separately, and we used a multimeter to determine the exact amount of voltage that was going to be coming from each one of the cells. I gave you the materials, I showed you the materials, had you shut the video off, and then take a couple of minutes, just same thing we do in class, to come up with different ways you could change your independent variable and give me 3 levels of it. So some of you decided that, well, let's get back to this. So we came back in the video and I said, no matter what you did, we're going to be using the number of cells for your independent variable. One of the students sent me a message afterwards and said, if we want to, can we do our own independent variable with our 3 different levels? And I said, well, if you have a multimeter, you certainly can. So if you have one of these, which go for about $10 on Amazon, if you have a multimeter, feel free to use that for whatever independent variable you want. We're going to be using it this week. We will not need this week. We may need it next week. It's always a handy thing to have at home if you buy one for about $10. Because you never know, when you have those batteries in the drawer that you don't know if they're good or not, you can always put the multimeter up to them and just test them to see if they're, they should be either recycled or they're still good to go into a device. So last week for the hypothesis, I said we're going to be using the 3. So people wrote in the amount of salt, the amount of water, the amount of paper towels. That's great if you have one of these. If you own one of these, I sent out a message on this, then you can do this with whatever independent variable you want. If you own this, because then you can test the voltage however you're setting up your independent variable. If you don't own one of these, then you have to go with the number of cells. And so, okay, so that's really how that's going to work. What we're going to do today is Also, I'm going to let you know that for this week, for Wednesday and Friday, you're going to be doing the same thing. On Wednesday, you're going to be going through your materials, coming up with your hypothesis, posting your hypothesis to Jupyter. You're also going to be writing it down in your notebook. So parents understand that when your son or daughter is home working on this and they're coming up with the information for the lab, it's all just like in class. It's all supposed to be going down into the notebook. Wednesday, you're going to do the same thing we normally do. You come up with a hypothesis, if then because. If we make coin batteries, if we have coin batteries made of paper towels, pennies, and nickels, and we consecutively add them one on top of another, then as ABC, then as each cell is added, you're going to have double the energy. So from A to B, from one cell to two cell, you're going to have twice the amount of voltage. And from B to C, you're going to be having 50% of that. Okay, so keep in mind that because, what would the because be? Because if one is producing a certain amount, we can infer that double the cell would produce double the voltage. Okay, because we do know that this is producing a certain amount of voltage. And so just understand that, again, this is not complicated. What I'm asking you to do, it's the same thing we've been doing all year long, if, then, because. And still people are writing down weird stuff. So when I say weird stuff, I don't want to say what you wrote down, but it's weird. It's wacky. So if your parents don't know if you're writing wacky stuff or not, they could look in your notebook. So Wednesday, you're going to be ready. Give me a hypothesis, material list, and procedure. You write it all in your notebook. Take time to do that. Then on Thursday, this is day 2 technically that we normally have. I'm going to do the experiment for you. You're going to see the experiment. We're going to run it. I'm going to give you data, just like I did last Thursday. I'm going to give you the data, and that data has to be written down into a data table and into a graph, just like we do every week. We've been doing this for months now, since September. So if your parents say, my little babushka, my little sweetie, my xiao haizi, does not really understand what is going on, well, your xiao haizi, ta bu dong, because ta bu mingbai, or shoshima, because I don't know why. I have no idea. But we've been doing it all year. So what I want you to do is Thursday, I'm going to do the experiment, and I'm going to give you the data for it, and I'll show you everything, and then you will write it up. You don't need the meter, so you're going to use the information I give you, okay? Don't start making weird stuff up. Then what you're going to do is on Wednesday, you're going to submit that hypothesis. Hit submit. You're going to send it to me. Do not leave it just hanging out there in limbo. Don't start it and not finish it. What else? Friday, you're going to give me the conclusion. The conclusion is going to have to be backed up by the data that I give you while I'm running the experiment. Okay? Does everybody get this? While I'm running the experiment, I'm going to be giving you a certain amount of data, and you're going to have to write that down in your notebook. So parents, if you want to see if your little sweetie, your little darling, is doing the work they're supposed to be doing, look in their notebook, and you should see a problem at the top for their electromagnetic lab number 1. And then you're going to have hypothesis, material list, procedure. Then they're going to have a data table and a graph. And then you will see their conclusion. So the conclusion is going to be done on Thursday. And then Friday, really all you need to do is to go to the one question, and you're going to upload just the conclusion. So the conclusion, the data does or doesn't support, or does support or denies the hypothesis, because whatever reason, because I don't know, I can't tell you, but whatever. But then you're going to have to, in that conclusion, you're going to have to give me some of the data out of the graph, out of the data table. You have to support your hypothesis with data. It just can't be. It didn't work. And don't say my hypothesis was wrong, because we can't say that. That's not what happens. Okay, research papers. I am very excited that we have some people doing research papers. You are all eligible to do those, whether you are Science Talent or not. I put out the question for Science Talent if you would like to do this next year, and a lot of people said yes. So I'm throwing out the idea for the coronavirus this year, and there's a lot of different aspects of coronavirus that you can do a research paper on. I don't know if this is going to run for 10 minutes. I'm down to like 2 more seconds. If it cuts off, nope, it's still running. Good. Okay, so, and I put out a list for the science talent. If the regular core science students want to do a research paper on this, it's going to be at least 4 to 5 pages, no more than 10 to 12. And it's something that would definitely positively affect your grade. I would think that some people may want to do this for their exit project, especially the 8th graders who have already done something with Miss Herman. If they want to do a research project, they feel more than happy to. And some people have already started them, and I am very delighted that they are picking some topical issues. And based on the forum that I did with the classes, it seems that virtually everybody wants me to make a research paper part of the Science Talent program next year. So I think that's about it for right now. Going to be doing tomorrow. Going to be giving you some reading material. You'll have, well, you already have the reading material tomorrow. I've given you the book from last week, the article on electricity. Your quiz tomorrow is going to be based on that reading material. It's going to have to do with electromagnets, and there may be something else that you want to read. But go to Google Classroom first, and then go to see what's in Jupyter. Google Classroom will direct you towards anything in Jupyter. And I think that's about it. Anybody think of anything else? No? No thoughts on this subject? Anyway, okay, well, thank you, and I hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing exceptionally well. I'm running almost every day, and the runs are going great. I'm not quite keeping up to the Mr. O'Neill speed, or duration, or distance, but I'm an old man. You know. Okay. So on that note, the old man is cutting out, and we will talk to you. I will be talking to you Wednesday when we do the lab. And I might be wearing these same clothes because even though it's going to be Wednesday, I'm filming it today.